Hi everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Armytage Money Talks. I'm Emma and we've just finished today's ICM meeting. We're in the midst of an AGM season. Is there anything you'd like to touch on, Brock?
Yeah, so we saw today Flight Centre gave a bit of a business update, as to what's sort of happening at their business level, and they mentioned that inquiries are up, but bookings weren't quite following the same number, and we think that's due to a couple of reasons. Number one's probably the pricing around some of the flights that they've got available, in particular the international flights. We've seen that business class return to London from Australia is currently sitting at $13,500, which is really on the expensive side of things. So we think travellers are sort of just waiting to sort of see if prices normalise a little bit, and further to that, we saw Super Retail and even Batpool come out at their AGMs and touch on a lot of the supply side issues that those businesses are facing. So we're seeing the cost a lot of these shipping costs have gone from sort of $3,000 in recent months to $20,000. Issues like the Suez Canal blockage that we saw for a couple of months not that long ago. So pent-up demand, lack of supply issues, potentially COVID issues throughout Asia, in particular in China. There's a lot of factors at play that are contributing to this sort of global supply chain issue that's plaguing a lot of businesses locally. So that's been probably the number one thematic that we're seeing come through in AGM season from a lot of those retail businesses.
That sounds very interesting. And obviously over the last week we've seen New South Wales come out of their extended lockdown and Victoria's coming out in the next week or so. So what are we expecting for that in the next coming months?
Yeah, so we sort of debated today about where people are going to be spending their money coming out of lockdown. So I mean, New South Wales, their first couple of weeks, we've seen people spending a lot at the retail level, but we sort of don't really know how long that will last. But one thing that we were all in agreement on, that Victorians have been in lockdown for the best part of 18 months. They're going to be spending money on restaurants. They're going to be spending money on experiences. They're going to be spending money on booze. They're going to be spending money on entertainment. So companies like Endeavour, Redcape, probably Skydive, the beach, these businesses are really going to benefit from a lot of pent-up demand. People have been cooking at home for the best part of 18 months. So we expect to see a huge splurge in spending in those businesses. And we're out of lockdown at the end of this week, and then once we hit 80%, those restrictions come back off even further. So it's interesting to note too that bank reporting season is coming up as well. So we do have the ANZ reporting on the 28th of the 10th. We have Westpac reporting on the 1st of the 11th. NAB reporting on the 9th of the 11th. So they're going to be really important sort of D-days for those banks and sort of getting a real accurate assessment on where the economy is at. And further to that, Judo Bank are pretty much a big hyped IPO list on the 1st of the 11th. So that's going to be a really interesting time for the financial sector.
Yeah, exciting times moving forward. Thanks for that, Brock. So that's the end of today's episode. Tune in next week on Wednesday as well, and we'll have another one coming out for you guys.